Writer of this book is a typical modern Australian woman. She is from the urban part of NSW, graduated from uni, and started her career as a writer. Now you will be thinking, why am I giving this extra information when it's just a book review? I'm telling this because she was a daughter of an Aboriginal mother and a migrant father. She was just a typical woman who used to enjoy her daily life, used to go shopping, go for dining and everything, but still she was stereotyped every single day because of her skin color. Stereotyping of Aboriginal people was one of the biggest reasons she wrote this book. Am I black enough for you? She stood up for the rights of Aboriginal community. On many occasions she spoke about the discrimination her parents and grandparents faced. Her mother mentioned her experience in the school, and she said that it was just the biggest nightmare she had. It was the biggest nightmare for her because they were bullied by the fellow students and even the teachers. They were always cornered in the classroom and asked to stay segregated from the white. The book, Anita has asked very confronting questions like, is an indigenous person living in a contemporary society less authentic than the one who is strongly rooted in a typical traditional society? This is a very confronting question, and answering that could be very confusing, but Anita was brave enough to ask this question and made me think about it. Anita spoke about bullying, stereotyping, and discrimination in Australian policy, where Aboriginals were excluded. Biggest issue. This exclusion increased the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. This could also lead to a literal violence take places. Excluding Aboriginal from educational policy in Australian curriculum is very evident, which leads to poor class performance of Indigenous community. It is very unfair. We do not find a lot of material of the rich Aboriginal history. These informations are rare to find. These exclusions from our society is leading to identity crisis. We are stuck between them and us. The book also raised questions about the racial discrimination. One of the most famous court cases which comes into my mind was Anita and Andrew Bolt. Andrew Bolt mentioned that Anita was using her privilege of being an Aboriginal and using her Aboriginal heritage to find personal accomplishment and professional achievements. However, to reply to that, Anita did mention about the stolen generation, the dark history Australia has, in which Aboriginal kids were taken from their families and given to the white families for them to be raised. That was very unfair for the families and for the kids, and this is why it is known as a stolen generation. And Anita showed that she is not using her Aboriginal heritage as a privilege. Social justice is for everyone. Every person living in Australia has right to distinct culture, right to self-discrimination, right to land, and nobody has a right to take it away from them. Stats are not in favor of Indigenous community. It shows that the education given to the Aboriginal people is not up to the mark. They're lacking education, they're lacking job opportunities. And it is the time to make amendment to the Australian curriculum and its policies. It is time we include diversity into our educational sector and making culture as well. Aboriginals and Torres Island people are the people of our society, and they deserve every right to be included in the Australian policies and given right into the Australian curriculum, where it gives them right to increase the engagement in the class. Aboriginals and Torres Islanders' perspective written into national curriculum is ensuring that all Australians have opportunity to learn about, knowledge, and respect history and culture of Indigenous community. This is all what Indigenous people are asking, that we respect their culture. In the end, it is important that we talk about equality, being human. It is our right and we deserve equality.